Good evening, everyone. Welcome. This is Pamela Marie Edmunds, and this is Love Never Dies radio show broadcast. Being broadcast here on Zoom and being broadcast from Sedona, Arizona, the Red Rocks of Sedona. I just want to share a little bit. I am a medium, have been doing mediumship now for, gosh, 20 some odd years, and have been doing radio for that many years. This is my second name of named radio show. My first one was Bridge Between Two Worlds, which I started in Sedona too, back when I was living here for a couple years in 2000, 2001. And I got a phone call out of the blue. Would you like to do radio? And I says, oh my gosh, yes. And it was kind of like I was given an opportunity to do a classroom on radio, because it's a totally different format than doing the class, although classes now are becoming very much like what we're doing here tonight, right? Because we're doing something via the internet, online, virtual. So anyway, but I am a medium, been doing radio for that 20 some odd years. I originally am a student from, Rita Berkowitz, was a very prominent teacher for me. She's back at the First Spiritualist Church of Quincy, Massachusetts. I also studied with several other churches there. I've been around a little bit. And at this time, I have completed all the studies from Morris Pratt, which is in the direction of becoming a medium and, excuse me, not medium, certified medium. I'm getting two things in head here. I'm splitting up a little bit. And becoming a reverend. It's just a matter of me now to sit down and study for the test. Matter of fact, they're all sitting right over here on this desk here, waiting for me to be centered enough to get the hang of it. So, but if you're really, really a big part of the beliefs of mediumship and have been drawn to spiritualism, and I have a feeling our guest will fully agree with me on this, is do the exams, find a opportunity to study, to learn more, and to be able to help others dearly. And it's interesting, I just want to share too, I have become very involved with animals too now. I moved out here 5 years ago. My poor little dog, I ended up having to put him down a month after I arrived. And it was interesting. I just had this nudge that I had to be here a certain time. But Spirit knew he was getting ready to leave. And since he's gone, he's been communicating to me, and I've been communicating with other animals. So it's becoming kind of I say a group effort in regards to working with spirit, because many people are really hurting a lot with loss of animals. The animals have become very, very important to them. So I want to let you know, if you're interested in checking out what's coming up for this show another time, I try to post, Elaine. We've got a little chuckle there. I have a page on my website, which is PamelaMarieEdmunds.com. And it is, welcome somebody else. Welcome, Myrna. Love you, dear. Haven't seen you in ages. And so my website will have the information, which stays the same from week to week, to connect to Zoom for the show. Okay. And it's lists our upcoming events, who's going to be on the show. Matter of fact, I have another person from New England area who is going to be a guest within the next month or so. And her name is, give me a minute. I can tell you, I'm drawing a blank. You know what happens for me when I get on the show? I'm very connected to spirit. I'm more in my right brain. And it's I can't remember things. Okay. Amy Major She's from the lower New Hampshire area. And Amy is got very involved with spirit rescue and has written several books. So that should be a wonderful, wonderful show. Just check my schedule. I also post all my upcoming shows with guests and what we're going to be doing on Facebook. That's a big place that I post. That's where a lot of the people come in. And plus, I post my services that I offer too. So tonight, I have a wonderful guest, someone who I've known for a number of years. And it's interesting, she was around when I first started checking out spiritualism, when I first started checking out wanting to connect with my loved ones, wanting to understand more about the afterlife and what happened to them and whatnot. Elaine Kuzmeskus, and you want to say hi?
Hi.
Hi. And
How are
Elaine,
you?
good, dear. And
Good.
where are you talking to us from, dear?
From Suffield, Connecticut. And
Okay, yep.
I'm very pleased to be here. I was laughing. I remember I did my first radio show when I was 14. I was in junior high school. I won a contest on helping people to stop smoking, of all things.
Right, because hypnosis is another one of your tools.
But it's just interesting. It was my first radio experience and I loved it. Loved going into Boston and broadcasting. It was fun.
And this is what, the second or third time we worked together?
I think about the third time.
I think so too. And so let me read your biography so people know a little bit about your background, and plus you get credit for all that you've done. You've done a lot of work in these years. You have Elaine Kuzmeskus is a nationally recognized spiritualist medium and director of the New England School of Metaphysics in Suffield, Connecticut. She's also the author of 8 books.
Actually, it's 10 books now.
Oh, you need to update this. Okay, 10 books. Yeah. I'll list the 8, and once I finish, you can add the 2 to it. Okay. Let's see. Seance 101, Physical Mediumship, The Art of Mediumship, The Medium Who Baffled Houdini, and Healing with Spirit, which is our topic tonight.
Right.
During her career, Elaine has conducted the many notable seances, including the official Houdini seance, and was recently featured on Coast to Coast, PBS Special Things That Go Bump in the Night, like that, Coast to Coast Radio, and Lilydale Assembly. And for more information, your website is www.theartofmediumship.com. Okay. What are the other 2 books?
I wrote Connecticut Ghosts. I've also written an astrology book, Soul Cycles. And I wrote a book for the History Press. I love history, and it is Connecticut in the Golden Age of Spiritualism.
Oh.
And I was inspired because there's another book out called Boston in the Golden Age of Spiritualism, which I just love. And living in Connecticut now, I thought I should really write a book on our state. So I enjoyed that.
Wow.
And people always ask me 2 things. They ask me how I became a medium, and I wrote the book, The Making of a Medium. And then they ask another important question, how can I become a medium? They want to study, and that book would be The Art of Mediumship, which is a how-to book on developing your own mediumship.
And all those books are listed on your website?
Right, and they're all available on Amazon.com. Just put in Elaine Kuzmeskus and you'll see a whole list there.
Wonderful.
And I have a book coming out in the fall, which will be on physical phenomena. But it's not complete yet, but that'll be my 10th book.
Oh, congratulations.
Please let me know.
Please let me know where that comes out.
I'd be glad to.
It's something that's different for people to understand a little bit about, but it's also something I have extreme interest in myself.
Sure.
So great, wonderful. So Elaine, you've been in this field for how long now? And how did that happen?
I was certified as a medium in 1972, and it does take a long time. I was in a spiritualist development circle with Reverend Gladys and Kenneth Custins for
Yes.
3 years. But I was born with the gift of mediumship. I communicated with spirits in my crib. I saw my Hindu guide. And really, until I was about 8, I thought everyone was psychic. I was quite surprised they weren't. So I was a born clairvoyant. And at first, I was a little unsure of the gift, but as I matured, shall we say, I began to embrace it. And that's when I decided to study formally. And I think formal study is very, very important, because in a formal study, what happens is we have the opportunity to really develop our potential in a sequential manner. And I think for the public, it's important to have people that are tested and verified, because it's one thing to say you're a medium, it's another to actually do evidential mediumship, which is important.
Well, and that's extremely important for people because they haven't got a clue when they see a name of somebody who's a medium of the quality, the work that they've done to bring themselves to that point. And
That's right.
and they sadly, even on my Facebook page, there was some negativity I saw. It says people says, well, mediums aren't real, and there's still some of that, I guess, that stigma that needs to be broken, needs to be pulled apart. And as the rest of us keep doing the work that we're doing, people are going to come and believe and say, instead of saying, no, that is not phooey. That's not.
True.
Yeah. So what pulled you into this? What you said you
Well, I
were
was born with the gift of clairvoyance. So what
Okay.
pulled me in was my natural ability.
Okay.
And then I kept working on it, of
Okay.
course.
Awesome. Wow. And you've got your own center?
I do. It's the New England School of Metaphysics, because we work on metaphysics, which is astrology, mediumship, hypnosis, and healing. So
Okay.
it's not just mediumship, but I enjoy doing it very much.
Awesome. And something that came up in your bio is Houdini. Can you
Yes.
talk a little bit about Houdini? I mean,
Well, I have a great deal of research on Houdini. To begin with, he was a magician and world famous. He was a great magician. He was very generous to people around, and he was a natural skeptic on psychic phenomena, which meant that he tested mediums, and he would send people out to trick mediums, say, for example, to pretend they lost their mother or sister when they didn't. That wasn't true. And he came across one medium that he really couldn't trick, and that was the Boston medium Marjorie Crandon. And Marjorie Crandon was the real deal. She really was a superb physical medium. She started with table tipping, and then she progressed into trance. And while in trance, her deceased brother Walter came through, and he came up with some marvelous experiments. And I recall one, a Professor Harlow from Northampton, Smith College, was in the circle, and he lost his sister. And what they would do is they would put blocks out, children's alphabet blocks, and Marjorie went into trance, and her guide Walter moved the blocks in the dark. And when Professor Harlow opened his eyes, underneath his feet was the word ANNA, which was the name of his sister. So they constantly did wonderful things. The American Society for Psychical Research did 400-page research they put out in books. We found many people wrote books about it. The most famous one is by Malcolm Bird. He wrote a 500-page book called Marjorie the Medium. And Marjorie did not accept money for her mediumship. She was wealthy. She was married to a wealthy Boston surgeon. And she really was a wonderful medium. And it's a shame when Houdini came, he tried so hard to disprove her that he ended up placing a ruler underneath her cushion when she was performing and tried to make it look like she was a trickster. But he never really disproved her mediumship. But it's a good story, The Medium Who Baffled Houdini. I spent a lot of time researching that. And since I'm from Boston myself, I knew a lot of people would tell me about Marjorie, including Reverend Kenneth. I asked him once, I said, Kenneth, was Marjorie Crandon a real medium? And he lived in Boston at the time that Marjorie Crandon worked, and he knew several people at Harvard. His sister was married to a Harvard professor. And he said, Elaine, she was the real thing. So I had outside sources verify as well.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
I want to get into our topic, but I have one more question for you in
Sure.
regards to what we're going here. Was Houdini a medium too?
I think he did have some psychic abilities, but he, as he said himself, his tricks were really through magic.
Okay.
He never claimed mediumship ability.
Okay. Okay.
Unfortunately, like many people who perform, he was an inveterate liar in order to get people warmed up. He lied even about his birthday. Why you'd lie about your birthday, I don't know, but he did. And Arthur Conan Doyle said that about him as well as other people. Walter Prince said the same thing. He said Houdini was a very genial person. He was warm. I enjoyed him, but you could never trust him because he loved to tell stories. So that makes it hard to do research. But anyway, I did my best.
Awesome. So I'm holding, and is this the newest published book right now?
Yeah, that's the last one. That was 2017. And it's a book I often give to people who are going through illnesses, because I think it's important to know that there is a spiritual component. And if I may, I'm going to read a disclaimer. Do you think I could put the screen on? We could share the screen maybe? Yeah, that's good.
Have you got it written down?
I have it right here. I'm just going to read it for you.
Please.
And
do.
it says here, it's in the front page of the book. And I really think it's important that we make this point. The author, that's me, is not a doctor, nor does she dispense medical advice or prescribe use or any technique as a form of diagnosis or treatment for any physical, emotional, or medical condition. The reader, and I would say the audience here, should consult his or her medical, health, or other professional before adopting any of the suggestions in the book. This book is not to replace a doctor or medical advice. It's what I call an adjunct. It's to give you some inspiration. And it's throughout the years, I've studied many forms of healing. I'm a Karuna Reiki master. I've studied massage therapy. I've studied Christian Science. My aunt was a Christian Science practitioner. And I also have a master's in counseling. So I'm very aware of different healing techniques. And I wanted to share them with people as an adjunctive therapy. And this idea of healing with spirit is not new. The ancient Greeks used to have healing temples dedicated to the god Asclepius. And what they would do is, if you weren't feeling well, you would go to the temple, make an offering and pray and sleep overnight. And then in the morning, the attendants, which were called therapes, that's where the word therapist comes from, would ask about your dream. And what they would do is they would look at the dream very carefully as a way of understanding what was going on, and would be very helpful. And I think that this idea of healing and using spiritual presences has been with us from ancient Egypt, Greek, Rome, all the way through modern times.
Absolutely.
But because science, and I love science, believe me, I love science. I love using the reasonable mind, but science has not yet reached a conclusion that many spiritualists know, and that is that there is no death and there are no dead. And I feel until science can reach that, we are not really in the new age. People always ask me, when are we in the new age, Elaine? I say, as soon as science will recognize that there is no death and there are no dead. Usually when I do a talk for people, Pamela, I always talk about my 3 principles. And the 3 principles are: 1, we have more than 5 senses. Besides the 5 senses that we are aware of, we have intuition. Sometimes you'll hear the phone ring and you'll say, whoa, I know that's Aunt Mary, even though she usually doesn't call. That's intuition. And then we also have spirit talking to us. And it doesn't always sound like voices outside your head. It could be the voice of intuition. And sometimes people even feel a buzzing in their ear. Now, Arthur Ford was a great clairaudient. And he used to actually get the names, first and last names of people that had passed over. They would just give them their name as we're talking. And then we have clairvoyance, which is the ability to see spirit. And clairvoyance is a wonderful gift Clairvoyance, you actually start by seeing maybe the outline of spirit or the spirit lights, and then you'll see the whole spirit. Clairvoyance can be objective or subjective. Objective clairvoyance is when you see spirit in front of you, but you can close your eyes and you can see spirit in your mind's eye, and that is subjective.
Yes.
And that's my first principle, that there are more than 5 senses. The second principle is one that the spiritualists talk about, and that is that we continue to exist past the change called death. That death is a passing into a different consciousness, a different awareness. And as Edgar Casey said, when you go on to the other side, you're going to be pretty much the same as you are now. If you're a Baptist now or a Methodist, you'll be a Baptist or a Methodist on the other side. So I'm going to be a spiritualist on the other side when I pass over. But our consciousness and our personality are retained. And the third principle, which people often give me a quizzical look when I say it, is that we do live in a world of absolute justice. And that is so hard to understand. I think truly to understand that you've got to take the concept of reincarnation into consideration,
Yes.
because I know as we sow, so shall we reap. So all the wonderful friends we've had in past lives, they come back. Gladys Customs, my teacher, used to say, I have a circle now that everyone in it was with me in my lifetime in ancient Egypt. And I believe that was true. I believe that was the circle I was in. And we were all very close. We were good friends, men and women, old and young, from all walks of life, secretaries, rabbis, dentists, housewives. And we all just clicked. I think it's because we were old friends.
Yeah.
Sometimes you meet someone and no matter how hard you try, you just can't get along with them. One of my relatives, actually an in-law, I don't know, I just can't get along with him. And I try to be pleasant.
Right.
And I had a dream and I saw that that in a past life, I was a Roman senator and he stabbed me in the back. And I'm telling you, I get this willies every time I'm around it, even though I try not to allow that to affect how I feel.
Right.
But
Yeah.
it's a cold feeling. So hopefully most of the people we meet are our friends and are going to continue being friends. But
Right.
I think there is a world of justice. And, many times people will say, I can't understand why some people are so cruel to other races or other nationalities. And I would say, shame on them. They're going to have to come back and experience that race or nationality, because you have to learn compassion for all beings. It's very important.
Right. So what topics, what aspects of healing do we get involved in?
Every aspect, practically, in terms of spiritualism. One of the first things I like to work with is affirmations. Are you aware of affirmations?
Oh, absolutely. Used to do them back with back at the first Spiritualist church in onset. That was part of the class. It was about
Absolutely.
raising vibration.
Well, you try to listen to the radio and the TV at the same time. I often do that. I teach psychology, and I often do this with my students to explain the mind. And I'll have one student read one page and another student read another page at the same time. And then after about 3 minutes, I'll say, well, what did they read? Everyone's like, I can't read that. That can't make sense. Because you can't attend to 2 things at the same time. So if you have a lot of fear, depression, anxiety, upset, the more you think about it, the worse it becomes. You get racing thoughts, you get upset. Now you can certainly, and I highly recommend you see a professional if it's an ongoing issue, or sometimes you take an Advil or aspirin, or you may have medication. But another way is to try to see if you can change your thought pattern. And a simple affirmation when you're upset, and I know myself, I'm busy, I rush places. I have to sometimes take a deep breath and say, a mighty God force goes before me, making easy, instant, and perfect my way. And really focus on that there is a higher power guiding me, and I can take a deep breath and have faith. And I think that's important. But another thing to remember, you can't say affirmations for 5 minutes and then spend the rest of the day being negative. You've got to really believe them and I realized there are higher powers that help us. When I have 4 children, and of course, being a mom, you often take them to appointments, dentist appointments, soccer games, dance lessons. And being the person I am, sometimes I'm a little late. And I remember saying in the car to the kids, don't worry, I'm saying an affirmation, kids. And my affirmation would be divine order prevails. I wouldn't say it out loud, but I would say it in my mind. Because divine order prevails means whatever's meant to be will be. And I did believe that. I did believe that divine order prevails. Sometimes I would be late. And then the dentist would say, that's okay, Mrs. Kuzmeskus, we'll take you anyway. You know, it's like they just knew I was sincere in my efforts. So this is important. I know a lot of people today are looking for Mr. Right or Miss Right. And I think relationships are very, very important. And some of my clients, I do mediumship readings there, and I also do astrology readings for people. The first that I usually say to people that are looking for a special person in their life is, what are you doing to find them? You know, are you going out with your single friends? Are you joining a dating site? Are you at least making a social contact? At the very least, you could talk to friends on Zoom these days if you can't actually go out socially. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, you know, a good thing is to work on your consciousness. You might say an affirmation such as a divine force brings the right person at the right time, in the right place, into my life. And actually open the door for spirit to help you increase the contacts in your life. And, you know, there's so many uses, but I think one of the most important things is to be aware we can use through our affirmations spiritual help. And, you know, the rule is you have to ask. Spirit guides and loved ones will not interfere with your consciousness. They will come in if you invite them. They are not uninvited guests. I have to tell you a cute story. My husband was away for a weekend, and I wasn't really used to being at home by myself because having 4 kids, somebody's always around. But I was alone that weekend, and I said to my spirit guides before I went to sleep, I said, please make an effort to keep me safe tonight. And we live in a very safe neighborhood, but I was a little antsy. Well, when I woke up in the morning, I saw this tall Iroquois Indian, spirit Indian, right next to my bed guarding me. I looked at him. When he saw my eyes open, he disappeared because he didn't want to frighten me. But I thought that was wonderful. My spirit's guide said an extra protector, Indian, to stand guard all night and make sure I was safe. So I think just send the thought out, have faith that there's a reason for your being on this earth, and know you will be protected and guided. Have you ever had any things like that happen to you, wanting extra protection, Pamela?
Well, one of my most powerful stories of recent, Dad passed just before I moved out here 5 years ago, and he has been around me. Well, he
Good.
literally, I was taking a nap. I was awake for a moment, then I was in and out, and I was in the living room and I looked up, and it was as if he was coming in from a bedroom, and like he
Wonderful.
was checking on me, but it was like he was there in the physical. It blew me away. And wearing
Wonderful.
a red plaid shirt, just very much like he would have worn, and almost like he was just letting him know that he's been checking up on me
I
and that
love
he's
it.
keeping an eye on me. It was powerful, and I had to process it a bit, and then call a dear friend who also is involved in this. I said, I gotta share this. I gotta share this.
You
It's
should.
Oh yeah, things happen that you really, it kind of can, um if we take it all in on the human mind, it's almost like what it's because it isn't from the human mind.
It's
It's another
wonderful.
level.
It really is. And I have to laugh. You know, sometimes you just send a thought out and you don't even realize that spirit is listening, and they are listening. I recently finished a book on physical phenomena, and I worked on it very hard over the summer. And every day before I'd start my writing and research, I would pray for guidance. I'd say, please
Yes.
guide me, help me to do my very best. And when I finally finished it that morning, I was having a cup of coffee, and I wasn't really thinking one way or the other. I was just relaxing. You know, the more relaxed you are, the easier it is to see spirit. Gladys Custance used to always tell us as mediumship students, tension shuts the door. Well, I was pretty relaxed. I'd finished the last page. I'd sent it into the publisher, having a cup of coffee, and this lovely spirit lady walked from my office through the kitchen out my front door. And I could just see the back of her. And she was about my height, about 5'3", very elegantly dressed, like in the 1950s. She was a brunette. She had her hair in an upsweep, and she had nylons and beautiful shoes on. And I said, oh my God, that's Elaine Garrett. She must have been helping me at the end, because I always need some editorial help. And of course, Elaine Garrett had written several books. So I was very grateful for that. And the spirit comes in unusual ways. I noticed that you said one of your guides is Arthur Conan Doyle. That's a wonderful guide.
Okay. One of the gifts that's developed for me beyond doing mental mediumship is trance. And Arthur's come in as a teacher. I do believe he and I worked together at one lifetime in some way, form. Oh yeah. So when
I love Arthur Conan Doyle. He wrote the History of Spiritualism, volumes 1 and 2. And he was a great advocate for Marjorie Grandin. In fact, he was so angry at the treatment of Marjorie Grandin that he took a full-page ad in the newspaper complaining about it. So he really did care a lot about her. Well, I have a rather cute story about Arthur Conan Doyle that's not in any of my books. That is, about a couple of years ago, I was doing a workshop at one of the colleges. I often do workshops in parapsychology at colleges. And for some reason, I guess it was on the aura and psychic development. And at the end, I went through the aura, I went through clairvoyance, I went through how you can heal with the aura and diagnose, or at least see what issues need to be balanced. And one of the women got up and she said, Elaine, you're a wonderful psychic, and I enjoyed my reading with you, but you forgot to mention some aspect of the aura. And I said, oh, I'm so sorry. Why don't you stay at the end and I'll work with you for a half hour, just one-on-one. Well, she was such a hothead. She said no, and she just left. And I was devastated. So later in the day, I was doing some grocery shopping. I was in the car. I wasn't even thinking about the incident. And who comes in to talk to me about it but Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. And I'll never forget, he said, Elaine, there are always some cranks out there. And that was his message. In other words, forget it. There's always going to be some critic. And it made me feel really good that he took an interest in it. I do like his work, and I think it was wonderful that here is a man who was a medical doctor, a scientist, a very respected writer. He was the author of the Sherlock Holmes series, was a devout spiritualist. And he spent over $1 million of his own money going all around the world, doing lectures, slide presentations, and writing about spiritualism. I think he's really a credit to the religion and science.
There's a very serious side to him, yet there's also a humorous side to him.
Oh yes, yeah, you could tell he had a sense of humor. You really could.
Yes.
But to get back to healing with spirit, one of the things that I think is very important, I'll just go through the chapters here, is esoteric anatomy. Do you realize not only do we have a physical body, we have spirit body.
Yes.
And actually we have 7 bodies. This is from the Vedas, or the Hindu anatomy. Yep. And what happens is illness starts in the highest body and it goes down to our lower physical body. And many times we don't realize it, but what a clairvoyant can see is disharmony in the aura, which will represent later disharmony in the physical body. For example, I had a woman who came to me regularly. She lived in the greater Hartford area, and she moved to South Carolina, and she hadn't had a reading in a couple of years. And when she came in, I looked at her aura and it was all washed out. And I was rather startled. I said, I don't know what's going on with your health, but you have a very weak aura. I said, I hope you're seeing a physician. She goes, yes, Elaine, I am. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. And I said, well, I can see your aura needs to be toned up. So you just keep going with the medical help. But I was rather startled because it was such a change in 2 years in her aura. And you can see how illnesses will drain the auric field. And what we need to do is to begin through positive thought, through diet, through medicine, through good doctors, to build that energy field up. And so esoteric anatomy is very important. And then if you are serious about working with healing, it's very important to work with your own clairvoyance. You can develop clairvoyance. And as we develop clairvoyance, we're able to help people to balance the auric field, which is very important. And I also talk about spirit guides. We were just touched on it, but our spirit guides are helpful. Now, my favorite medical clairvoyant was Edgar Cayce.
Yes.
Edgar Cayce was the greatest psychic we've ever had, I think worldwide, but certainly in the United States. And he always did his work in trance. He had a group of guides that they came through him. And he also had a doctor from the 1800s that came through and diagnosed. And Edgar Cayce, when you read the readings, sometimes they're very archaic language, like they spoke in the 1800s,
Yes.
because that was the medical doctor coming through. And then he also had a group of other guides. They simply called themselves the source. They didn't identify themselves, but I'm sure they were very, very high spirits. And they came through as well. And Edgar Cayce was such a wonderful, wonderful, humble person that he never thought to say no to anyone. He really didn't. There was a young nurse by the name of Elsie Sechrist. She was in her early 20s. She'd just been married. And she was told by her physician she had a heart condition and she had a year to live. Can you imagine how a young woman would feel? And of course, she was devastated. There was no hope medically. She was a nurse. She knew that. So she had a reading with Edgar Cayce. And Edgar Cayce told her what she could do using drugless methods to improve her circulation and her heart. And God bless her, she lived well into her 70s, and she wrote 2 books about Cayce. One is Dreams Your Magic Mirror, and Elsie Sechrist also wrote Meditation, Gateway to Consciousness. And I think that her gratitude to Cayce, writing those books, was a wonderful gift giving back. But Cayce, she was one of thousands of people that were able to be treated by the spirit doctors. Another person that I think did some wonderful work is a friend of mine who's been in spirit about 10 years, and you may know of him, and that's Elwood Babbitt.
I know the name.
I had a reading with Elwood Babbitt for every year for 20 years.
Wow.
Once a year, I would go and have a reading with him. And when you had a reading with Elwood, he was a full trance medium. And he would take about 5 minutes to leave his body, and this wonderful physician would come through from the 1700s by the name of Dr. Fisher. And he would say, Dr. Fisher, assuming control of the body. And if you made a mistake to ask a question, say, Elwood, what do you think? He'd say, this is Dr. Fisher. And he took the whole reading over. Well, Elwood wrote a wonderful book about the spirit doctors. And in the book, it's called Perfect Health, Except No Substitutes. All these spirit doctors come through and give some idea of ways we can improve our health. So I'd like to just take a look at a little bit of that, just to get a flavor of it, because I do believe that we should be more aware, much more aware of ways that we can improve our health. So let me give you a little bit of Dr. Fisher. For one thing, people would ask Dr. Fisher different questions. And one of the people that came through Elwood Babbitt was Dr. Royal Rife. Now, you may not believe it, but Dr. Royal Rife had a cure for cancer in the 1930s. And Royal Rife discovered a cure for cancer in the 1930s when he mentioned and invented a frequency treatment. It would be like radionics. It's on page 93 of my book. And the machine was called a mortal oscillatory rate to destroy organisms by vibrating them at a particular rate. And according to author Barry Lyons in his book, The Rife Report, within a 3-minute period, his machine could painlessly destroy viruses or bacteria without damaging the tissue. However, sadly, Royal Rife was put in jail and all his papers destroyed. However, I'm very happy to tell you Dr. Royal Rife is still practicing medicine on the other side. So if you read Elwood Babbitt's book on perfect health, I think you would enjoy that. And another physician, these are spirit doctors, who are still practicing on the other side, is a psychiatrist by the name of Wilhelm Reich.
Okay.
And Wilhelm Reich still dispenses advice. When one man asked the spirit of Dr. Wilhelm Reich about depression, Dr. Reich explained that depression emanated from, quote, his own fears and the uncertainties of life, from those intimately associated with your life, as well as the pollution that surrounds you. Now, that's three sources. One is your own insecurity, which we talked about earlier, how affirmations can be helpful, but also being compassionate beings. We worry about our children, our spouses, our friends. And I'm at an age where I worry about my grandchildren. So it goes into another generation. And I pick up their uncertainties as well. Plus, today with the coronavirus, how can you not feel the pain of people that are being evicted, losing their houses, children that are going to bed hungry? I mean, it's an awful lot to be depressed about, certainly. But that is the source of our depression. It's just not ourselves, it's people around us in the world in general. So, evidently, depression stems from as much from inner anxiety as a toxic environment around us. So, the way to begin good health, of course, our good mental health is with ourselves, so that we can be strong, positive, cheerful, and of a good mind, of a mind of service to others. And then it's like a ripple effect. People feel better around us, and then the people they meet feel better, and we begin to have a more positive effect in the world. I think that's very, very important. Now, not only do we have spirit doctors, but we have today's earthly physicians that are more aware. And our physicians today said, come in, like my favorite is Dr. Sheely. Dr. Norman Sheely has written a book on medical intuition, and great book. We used it in our class. And Dr. Sheely is a medical doctor. He is also a holistic physician, and he does a lot of lectures at the Edgar Cayce Institute on how we can improve our health. A wonderful quote from the book, I'm going to just give you a thought. It's from Silver Birch, who's a spirit guide. And I just love this quote. He said, "What drains your spirit drains your body." So if you want to improve your physical health, start with your spiritual health, and it'll filter down. I'm sure you feel that way too, Pamela.
Well, I'm going to share just a touch here. Over the past 3 years, I've gone through a major health
I know you have
experience,
sorry.
and I'm so grateful to be able to hear messages, receive messages in regards to what do I do now. You know, you come to places. It's like, how do I handle this? Please guide me to the appropriate people. And my spiritual piece has been so important. And for those of you who don't know, I'll just share, I had breast cancer, did have a mastectomy. And right now I'm in between the mastectomy and going for reconstructive surgery.
And you know, your aura looks wonderful.
Thank you.
It really does.
Thank you. And what I want to say is the physical healing did a lot of work for my emotional body too.
Good.
It helped me to heal many things that I didn't know were there. Okay. And having the gift of mediumship, having the gift of being open for alternative healing, has been tremendous.
Oh, it is wonderful. I mean, alternative healing. I do acupuncture, chiropractic. I try to follow a vegetarian diet, and I do a few yoga stretches.
Well, and I'm still working on the diet. That's okay. As I'm releasing everything else that is toxic or I no longer need. Let's put it that way.
For you.
But I wasn't sure that you knew I had been sick, but gratefully I listened to my guides and I came out here to Sedona.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And that itself is an enhancement of the energies, the astrological energies, my emotional healing and what I needed to be doing for myself. And plus, it's got a fantastic beauty.
Oh, I bet.
Yes. So it was about listening
Mhm.
and following the guidance.
Good.
And that's what I feel is probably one of our most important things to do as
It is.
far as healing when we're out of balance. Let's put it that way. Okay.
Right.
So
I think that's true. And I think it's so important to stay in balance.
yes.
I honestly believe that we should be doing gratitudes, thanking God every
Oh,
morning.
absolutely.
3 gratitudes, things that you are thankful for. If you're walking, you're seeing, you're healthy, that's a lot to be grateful to with the coronavirus, but also for family and friends, for abundance in whatever manner we have it, or whatever's come as a positive way. I was grateful the other day for spending the day with my grandchildren, 4 and 6. That was a lot of fun. So these small events can make us very, very happy. I think, and then I also believe in meditation, taking time to listen.
Yes.
Prayer is asking God for advice, but meditation is listening for advice.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have to be a long meditation. I like to do about a 15 meditation in the morning, 15 minutes. But whatever works for you can be very, very helpful.
And you know, one aspect too here of healing that I just want to touch on, you may have touched on it in your book, but if we can receive from spirit world, if we have a relationship that needs healing, was toxic, or we had somebody that left and we just had unfinished experiences with them, we can heal those with them.
Absolutely.
Help them to raise their vibration on the other side, but help us to let go of the hurt and the pain that was there.
Oh, that's so important.
And forgiveness is huge. So, yes.
Gladys Custance used to say, "Dear God, for all the good is that they have, I praise them." And she said, if they didn't have any good, I'm not praising them.
Awesome.
So that's something to think about.
Awesome.
Another thing, I will be teaching a class on healing with spirit starting March 10th, and I want people to know it's going to be on Zoom. And it's not just the book, it's going to be a mediumship circle, developing clairvoyance, and helping people to read the aura as well. I have tons of material that I just couldn't put in the book, so I'll be sharing that. It's a 6-week class. If anyone's interested, they can sign up on www.theartofmediumship. And this is my 3rd Zoom class. We did one on dreams and astral travel in the fall, and then we did one on astrology. It was great fun. I felt the students that took the classes really did benefit from it, which is important.
Well, we're able to create a personal connection in some form here. I previously, before Zoom became popular, was using some free conference calls.
Oh, sure. I do Zoom readings for people if they want mediumship readings.
Right. But you couldn't see anybody. You weren't able to connect with somebody visually. The Zoom here, provided the person wants to be seen and part of this, but it gives that personal connection. So
it does very much.
Yeah. Elaine, can we open up for questions from people?
Absolutely. I would love to. Please.
All right. And you know what? The best way to do this is for people to put your hand up. Okay.
Yeah,
let me
give me a lot of information.
Talk.
Yes.
And I'll unmute you if I've muted you. So yes, hang on. Fenton, get 1 minute. Ask to unmute. Let's see. Can you try clicking on the unmute, see if you can do it? Or do I need to do it, please? Sometimes it can be done both ways. No. Mine says ask to unmute. Let me just see what. Okay, you're unmuted. You can talk. Fenton.
It's a question for you, Pamela.
Oh, me, okay.
Do you know Blair Robertson?
Heard the name.
He lives in Arizona, and his motto is "Love never dies."
I love it. Beautiful.
And he's on Facebook, and he does all kinds of readings for people. And
I'll have to look him up. I'll have to look him up because I've been going through a lot of my own personal healing since I've been out here these 5 years. I have not connected with a lot of people.
yeah.
But I will look him up. Blair Robertson, you said. Okay.
I
you.
thought maybe the radio show was part of what he does. This is the
No.
same exact phrase.
Well,
Love never
well, I was guided to use it, and actually I loved using my previous show title. It was Bridge Between Two Worlds.
Nice too.
Yep. The thing was, I had grown beyond it. It was like I needed to acknowledge that I had grown and I had changed and come up with a new title. That's what I need to do. It is still out there. I have a dear friend from New Hampshire, Elaine Evans, who I did hand over the name to, and she does shows on occasion. So anyway, but great. So Fenton, you got anything you want to ask Elaine?
I think I'm all set for now.
Well, thank you for speaking. Okay, I'll have to look him up. All
If
right.
if I may, if there's no other questions, I would like to mention something very important, since what the show is Love Never Dies, is my favorite chapter in the book is healing grief. Because
Okay.
as a medium, I see a lot of people that are destroyed by grief. Just the last month, I think I've had 4 people who've lost sons to opiates or suicide.
Yeah.
And that is, being a mother myself, it's very, very difficult. You know, you can often you do bring the person through, and they bring messages. Many times, unfortunately, people that I always say they're the victims of suicide, the victims of depression. They come through and they just come through and they are really, really sorry. It's almost like you have $1 million on your kitchen table, you open the window, it's gone. And there's that feeling of regret. And they try to talk to their parents, their loved ones, and tell them how sorry they are. And of course, the parents are devastated.
Right.
And also this opiate epidemic. We have many people all over the country, including New England, that overdose on opioids. And this is very difficult too. So I see a lot of people that are deeply in grief, that are entrenched. So I just hand them a copy of the book. I said, take this, read it. I hope it will help you. But the chapter Healing on Grief is very important. And I start by Death Be Not Proud, which is a great book by John Gunther. It's an older book, but parents out there, if you've lost a child, pick up a copy of it.
Right.
I cried when I first read it. I still get tears in my eyes.
Well, and I'm trying to think of the title of the book. Joseph Higgins had a book about children. The children were coming through, and I can't think. He's got a website out there. He's another medium from the Massachusetts
But
area.
I think it will inspire. Well, Death Be Not Proud. John Gunther was a very famous newscaster all over the world. And his only son, John Gunther Jr., was a student at Deerfield Academy, and he contracted a brain tumor. And it was just awful. And his father says this brilliant young son of his who hungered for knowledge, and he did his homework all through the summer. He was dying of brain cancer. He was the sweetest kid. And he said death took him like a thief in the night. And he talks about how difficult it was and what helped him to get through it. So that's a wonderful book. And I do recommend that parents begin to think of ways they can a memorial for their child. Put all the love you felt for that child into something positive. It could be helping people that are ill or helping other children. I know in Connecticut, we had a terrible tragedy in Sandy Hook, where we lost 26 of the sweetest young children, 5, 6, 7-year-olds you could ever want to lay your eyes on. And what they did is they started a fund and they built 26 playgrounds, each one dedicated to a different
Wonderful.
child who was a victim of the Sandy Hook massacre. And there's something about that. It's like we lost our child, but we still love children, and we're going to do something to make the life of children better. So I think that's
Exactly.
important. Absolutely. So make a memorial, do a photograph, a book, a quilt. You may give to Stanford University was started by parents who lost their only son at 22. And they decided that they would take the money, the inheritance, the money that they would have given him, and they started Stanford University. And one of the things about Stanford University, the parents insisted that they study parapsychology. So they have a large trust fund set aside for the study of parapsychology. A lot of people don't realize that, but Stanford University has done some wonderful studies.
Wow.
So, do something positive, make a beautiful memory, find a way to capture the essence of your child. And there's so many, another thing that I think is very important, there are so many support groups, bereavement groups for parents who have lost children. By all means, go to a group, go a couple of times and see how you feel. That could be very helpful too, just to have the support of other people.
Right.
And I'm a great believer, if you have a mind to see a spiritualist medium, that can also be helping you get
Absolutely.
through it. And most of the
Absolutely.
mediums are trained at grief and dying and trained to help people.
And check them out too. Find some, get a few references, get a little, read up about them a little bit, so
Oh, yes.
you know
course.
that you resonate with them. Just like a doctor, there are many doctors out there, but you don't resonate with all of them. And the same thing with mediums. We need to find the right one for us.
Well, the best way is recommendations from other people. And a second way is the National Association of Spiritualist Churches has a list of churches throughout the United States. Go to one of the churches, see see if you like the minister, you like the medium, and you can get a lot of comfort. In spiritualist churches, we do a healing service, a laying on of hands, which is totally free. And it's given as service to help people. And many of the mediums who give messages do it really just for car fare money, basically. They're really giving of their time and of their love for humanity.
Right.
So it's a wonderful place to
Wonderful.
go if you're grieving and need a little help.
Now, I just want to let you know we're right on the hour. Can we go just a little bit longer here so we can get a few questions answered for anybody? Is that okay with you, Elaine?
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Okay. I'd like to see. Oh, right. We just lost. Okay. All right. Somebody just checked out. Okay. Does someone who's still with us here, would they like to have a question for Elaine here at this time before we close out? Yes. Hang on. 1 minute. Let me see if. Can you unmute? Yep. Yep. Got it. And your name was?
Pamela?
That's right. We got another Pamela, and you
Right,
prefer
two
Pamela.
Pamelas.
Okay, wonderful. Okay.
Yeah, yes, I have a question for Elaine. Which spiritualist church were you part of, and in what state?
I grew up, I lived in Los Angeles till I was 8, and then I moved to from California to Boston, where I lived until I got married at 25. So I went to a church outside of Boston on the Cape, the First Spiritualist Church of Onset. And I attended my psychic or mediumship development group in Boston. Gladys Customs would drive from the Cape with her husband, and they would have a Friday night circle. So I was fortunate. I know the funny thing is spirit works in mysterious ways. I was in college and I was looking for a roommate, a place to stay. And so I found these two girls, Pauline and Heidi, who had an apartment in Brookline. So they were looking for a third roommate, and I moved in toward my last year of college. And lo and behold, Gladys and Kenneth had a psychic development group 3 miles away from where I lived. Isn't that funny? So they were doing their work in Brookline, and here I was just living up the street. So it was very easy for me to connect with them.
Wow.
And I do feel that was planned by spirit.
Yes, it was. Yes, I understand. My mother frequented the Onset Church before she passed. She passed in 72. And I remember going there as a teenager for penny sales and stuff like that.
Oh, they were fun. They were a lot of fun. Yeah.
So when I was an adult and it was time for me to go check into spiritualism, it was like, I've been here before. I've been here before. Yes.
Another
Thank you.
good resource is Lilydale Assembly, which is in upstate New York. They will have a summer season. It goes June through September. And I will be serving Lilydale Assembly June 30th on Zoom. I'm going to do a workshop on healing with spirit, but I'm also going to do day-long workshops Monday, July 12th on dreams and astral travel, and Tuesday, July 13th on Seance 101, physical links to the other side. There'll be 6-hour workshops. So I hope I'll see some of you in Lilydale this summer. And it's a great spiritualist camp. They have wonderful mediums. There's something to do from 6 in the morning to 10 at night. They have church services, they have meditation groups, healing circles, and lots of lectures. So that's a wonderful resource as well.
It's also a very spiritual place to be.
Oh, it is. I love it there.
There's a pond. There's, oh gosh, I've only been there a quick trip once. And
when I go, I make a vacation of it. I try to stay 4 or 5 days and just
yeah,
get the peace and energy.
right. Let's see. There's one other person who's still here. They're on the phone. I was wondering if they might have a question for Elaine. Let's see if we can unmute you. If you'd like to share anything, or if you'd like to, or if they'd like to even type a message in the chat, if that's better. It all depends on how much they want to be. Let's see. I don't have a name for you. You're just listed as iPhone. Okay.
They're shy.
That's fine. That's fine. And that is clearly.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello.
Aha, we got a voice. Hello, your name?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
Elaine, this is Donna Chassie. I
remember Donna.
studied with you.
I loved
Yes.
hearing from you, Donna. Where are you living now? Down in Florida or?
Down in Florida,
That's what
yes.
I thought.
Yes.
We miss you. We miss you in
Yeah.
Connecticut.
Well, I miss you too. I really do. And this was a real treat for me to be able to hear you ladies and to catch up with you this way, Elaine. It's been a real treat, and I appreciate it so much.
Oh, I'm so glad. I hope you
I
and
just
your
wanted you
husband
to
are staying
know.
well.
We're doing everything. We're doing really well. Everything
Good,
is
good.
going fine. And we're just looking forward to 2021.
Absolutely. Good for you.
So I just wanted to take this time to say thank you, and thank you for everything, your teaching and your school. And I learned so much, and have so much more to learn. But I will connect with you at another time. But I just wanted to wish you all the best, both of you ladies.
Thank you so much, Donna.
Well, Happy New Year, dear Donna.
Happy New Year to you.
Yes. What part
Take
of
care.
Florida are you in?
Bradenton.
Oh,
It's the
nice.
Gulf Coast, like Sarasota, Tampa area.
Okay. Are there any groups out there or churches that you? I don't think.
There's a spiritualist church in Sarasota. I have to see, and Casadega is only 4 hours from here. I don't know if you spent any time in Casadega. I have not.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Don
a spiritualist
Zag is
center.
wonderful. Donald Zag, he gave us a tour, an orb tour one night. He's a wonderful medium. And
Oh.
I took lots of orb pictures. We had a lot of fun there. It was good. And they have great
Oh my
mediums
God.
in Casadega too. They have some very good speakers.
Casadega.
Well, I'm hoping.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm hoping
Casadega.
to get out there.
Yeah. Casadega. There was also a house that Reverend Kenneth and Gladys owned. I can remember a couple times I've visited. They're actually standing outside the house, looking at the house with them talking to me.
And you know who's great is Dr. Lewis Gates.
Yes, he's
Dr.
the one who
Gates does some
purchased.
physical phenomena too. He's very
Yes,
good.
Yes, I've actually spoken to Dr. Gates. Yes,
Oh, good.
very, very good. Very, very good. So yes, I'm towing in down here, Elaine. I'm towing in.
It's a wonderful place. We used to vacation down there near Fort Myers at Bonita Springs.
Well, oh, that's a beautiful spot.
It is
Definitely
lovely. It is
beautiful.
beautiful,
Well,
yeah.
next time
Many
you come
times.
down, you know where I am. So
Thank you. I'd love to see if I do get there. Good.
Thank you for
Yes,
sharing,
very-
Donna.
And
Thank
did you have a
you. Thank you,
speaker
ladies.
Problem.
from the Metaphysical Church in Sarasota? Who was the medium? I saw her. Carol?
At the you know,
Pamela
I don't
had
know.
her
I
on.
haven't.
You might like to go back on Love Never Dies. She had a wonderful speaker from the Metaphysical Center, Sarasota. Do you remember her name?
Okay.
Pamela?
No.
Her first name was Carol. Carol Coster.
I don't know. I know more connected to the Casadega, and then there's a wonderful gentleman who's involved with some physical phenomena. I can't think of his name, on the lower part of Florida. What?
This was Dorothy Flexer's old church.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kenneth Lee, is he the one with the physical mediumship?
He's very good also. I believe he's out of Sarasota or that area.
What's his name, Fenton?
Reverend Kevin Lee.
That's the name. That's the individual.
Wonderful.
Kevin Lee.
Yes,
Mhm.
yes. Good looking guy, and he's really connected. Yes.
Very
yes.
sincere. I've enjoyed all my conversations with him.
Right.
Is he the new pastor of the Spiritualist Church in Sarasota?
I'm not sure. I know he's very
Okay.
involved. I'm not sure what his position is there.
Okay.
You could just look
All
up
right.
Kevin Lee, Spiritualist Minister or Spiritualist Medium. I think you get information.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank you so
Thank you, Donna. So,
right.
anything else?
God bless.
God
Thank
bless.
I had one
Go ahead.
question for Elaine.
Mhm.
Can you make any comments about John of God and how he heals people that come?
Yes, I think there's a chapter in my book on him. I went to see John of God in Brazil in 2007. And I was in the chapel when he incorporated or went into trance, and St. Ignatius came through. And it was the most amazing energy I've ever felt. Yeah, there were like probably 700 people. I was lucky to be in the front row, the rest of second row, very close. And the healings were amazing. He really did heal a great many people. I had a friend, Mary, who came with us, and she had suffered from asthma for many, many years. I mean, really severe. And when she came back from our trip together at John of God, she went for her annual appointment, and her doctor said, "Mary, you don't have any asthma. What have you been doing?" And she's a dear soul. And she said, "Well, I went to see John of God." And he just shook his head. He couldn't believe it. That's a real demonstration. They're wonderful healers, spiritist healers, spiritualist healers. My favorite spiritualist healer is Harry Edwards. If anybody would like to study more on spiritualism, read some of his books. They're from England. They're quite good. And he has the Healing Sanctuary that is still operated. And many wonderful healers come from that as well.
Right.
I studied in England. I did my trance work at the Arthur Findlay College with Reverend Muriel Tennant. So I can tell you their mediums are really cracked when it comes to evidential mediumship.
Yes.
Have you been to the Arthur Findlay College, Pamela?
Not yet. It's been.
You're due. That's a psychic prediction. You're due.
Thank you. It's on my list of to-dos. Yes. And it's
Filmmaker.
interesting. I every once in a while do get a couple people from the UK come in
Good.
on Zoom calls, and it's like
Great.
and they come in. It's like midnight out there, and I just, hey, I it's putting all this out for whomever needs it, for wherever it can help people, and I trust it. I'm working with Spirit by bringing the show together. That's the bottom line. Your name came to me for me to get in touch with you, Elaine, again.
Oh, good.
And I
Thank you.
trust Spirit, it's like, that's the way it works. Spirit works with you with your classes, right? And
Absolutely.
yes,
Yeah.
ma'am. So wonderful.
I really feel when I teach or when I write that I always start with a prayer, just as you did before the
Yes.
show. You
Yes.
go into the silence.
Yes.
Before I do a reading, I say a prayer. If I'm doing a Zoom reading, I meditate before I turn the Zoom on. And that makes a tremendous difference. So I tell my mediumship students, it's very important. You don't begin till you feel spirit if you're doing a reading. If it takes 5 minutes, it takes 5 minutes. You
Well-
just take your time and get in touch.
Mhm.
I also studied trance at Camp Chesterfield with Reverend Susie Greer.
Okay. I
And
know the
Susie
name.
did great trance classes. This was a number of years back. And one of the things she said to her students, you are in control of spirit. You start when you're ready. And she was very strict about that. She was a great trumpet medium too. She went into trance and that trumpet, aluminum trumpet about this big, 3 feet, flew up in the air and flew around the room and gave us all messages. Everybody could hear the message directly from spirit. She was a very, very talented lady. And she told great stories about the camp and the wonderful medium she'd known over the years. Wonderful evidential medium, a great servant to spirit, and had the best sense of humor I ever had a medium. She was Hungarian and she just loved to laugh. She was a wonderful lady. So I was fortunate to study with Reverend Muriel Tennant, Reverend Susie Greer, to do the trance or physical mediumship. And of course, my mental mediumship was with Reverend Gladys and Kenneth Custon. So I'm very grateful I had good teachers. And that's what keeps me going in the New England School of Metaphysics. I want to help others develop their gifts and to see what I can do to get them along the path. And we have very loyal students. We had 2 physical phenomena groups, and both groups lasted 5 years. Very
Wow.
loyal.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
I might start a third. If I'm inspired, I'll start a third physical
Right.
phenomena.
Right. I have a quick story about Gladys that I want to share.
Oh, I love stories about that.
Gladys was the one who came through to help me with the trance when I started trance.
She was a
and-
great all of our classes were in trance. Professor
Right,
came through
Right.
trance.
But she was the one that worked with me one-on-one from the other side to help me develop my mediumships, my trance skills. And it started off with a notebook, and me writing down what I was receiving. Okay. And then it eventually evolved to me recording things. But back when I was first doing it, Gladys was definitely a teacher.
Oh, she was a wonderful teacher.
But you hear this. She was the one who was bringing messages through me at first. And
Right.
so she wanted me to have a notebook with me wherever I went so that she could communicate to me whenever she wanted.
She would.
Now that was a test for me, because for anybody who works with spirit knows we're the ones in charge. We're the ones that
Absolutely.
set limits and boundaries with
You
them.
have to have boundaries. You can't be in trance all day. You're going to get in
No,
trouble. You can't be
no.
psychic all day.
No,
Boundaries are important. Yeah.
right. But I figured it out. I can't remember how long it took me to, but I figured it out. And I said, no, Gladys, I will do it. I will do when I'm available.
Of
And like
course.
I'd be in the kitchen sink washing dishes and I'd hear the message. Basically, I'd just hear Gladys is here. That was all I had to hear. And I'd
good.
stop, I'd look at the clock, I'd look at what I was doing. It says, Gladys, you have to wait a little bit.
She was a perfectionist, you know that. I had went to her for a reading, and a friend of mine, his uncle had recently died. And she's in trance, and professor's coming through, and she goes, Professor, well, his name was Peppy? Pep? Is that such a name? And I said, no, well, almost. And Gladys would not give up. She said, Peppo, that was his name. And it was Uncle Peppo that died. And that's an unusual name. But
Yeah.
she would not give up. She was very, very strong.
Right. But I often share with when I do teaching that she wanted to be in control. It was her way of teaching me that spirit does not need to be in charge. We still need to be in charge, and we have controls over that. And it also, I feel like it helped because it helped a lot of my fears over the years that I was releasing too.
Well,
Because-
Gladys was a prima donna. She was a concert pianist. She always, a concert harpist. She was a wonderful harpist, and that was her first profession. And she was always center stage, and she was always very professional. She was always on time. beautifully dressed. If you were working with her, she would call in advance and ask what color you would like to wear. So you'd be coordinated. One of you wouldn't show up in purple, and the other in yellow. She was
Yep,
there.
yep.
And she did a unified presentation, and she really worked so hard with her students. She almost never gave up on them. She was, even
Right,
sometimes they could
right.
be a little critical, where she still tried.
Well,
very,
she was,
you know,
yeah. And you need a teacher who can be tough on you, but who also can be loving too in this
right,
area.
absolutely.
Yeah, so we have Elaine Kuzmeskus. Well, and tonight's show has been Healing with Spirit, which is number 9.
It's
I
my
believe.
number 9, and number 10 hopefully will be out this fall, and we're finishing up. It's on physical phenomena. I
Okay,
attended over 40 physical seances, and I have a great deal to talk about. But
wonderful.
that will be advertised on my website, www.theartofmediumship. And I hope I see some of you at Lilydale in July.
Right. And classes, you said you have a class with
A Zoom class starting Wednesday, March 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's going to be a class on healing with spirit and a mediumship circle. So I'm looking forward to doing that
good.
on Zoom. For anybody who would like to join us, we'd love to have you.
And your services are mediumship, teaching,
Astrology. I'm a professional
Astrology.
astrologer, and
Yep.
also hypnosis.
Yes.
I don't do hypnosis on Zoom. I do hypnosis in my office in Suffield, Connecticut, but I do mediumship readings, and I do astrology analysis on Zoom or phone. So I'm happy to
Hypnosis, yeah.
work with-
Yeah, I train for hypnosis too. You really need to be right there with the.
I find I do. I really, at this point, I feel it's important. Yeah.
Yes. So, and people can contact you through your website.
Mhm.
We just said it. It's the medium. I'm sorry.
It's www.theartofmediumship.
That's right.
And I do have an astrology blog I put on every month.
Awesome. Elaine, thank you. And I want to thank everybody else who showed up. It's been great. You know, even though we've had a small group, it's been an important group because you're giving the support to Elaine and to the show. And I look forward to connecting with you again, Elaine, when the other book is in print.
Good.
And I see next week, every other week I do a show on my own, and I'm not sure I will be doing the show. I will be the guest, so to speak. So if anybody wants to come back, it'll be something Spirit gives me the topic for.
Oh, good.
So
And may I make a prediction for you, Pamela? I feel a book coming out of you. Are you working on one right now?
there's a number of books.
Only not one. Stay with one and get one out.
Well, the one is in regards to my relationship with the dog who passed
I
in
love
spirit
it.
now.
Good. I feel a book coming out, and I think I'll tell you, I have an arrangement with my guides. I write from 9 to 12 and 1 to 4. That's when I'm available. So you set up a schedule, and before you know it, that book will be finished.
Well, and it's Earth Angel is the dog's name, and so it'll be,
Lovely.
and because basically Spirit led me to find him at the little shelter I found him at and adopted him. And he was a healer dog with me, coming and sitting underneath clients, sitting in people's laps when we were doing
Beautiful.
stuff. So, and he traveled with me cross country a couple times. Yes, and he does channel through me, and he's got a purpose of helping to give voice to the animals.
I think that's important.
And the animals, a lot of them still, whether they're on this side of the plane here or on the other side, they really have a lot to share.
There are little brothers and sisters.
Absolutely. And talking about healing, they're healers. Very much so.
Well, I have one final thought for you, healing
Please.
with spirit. If you feel well, you are well. And that's from the idea of affirmation. I'll leave that right
Yep,
there.
absolutely.
Happy New Year to everyone.
Thank you, Elaine.
Thank
And
you.
Thank you.
everybody else
Thank you,
for joining.
Elaine.
I hope to see
Thank
you
you,
all
Pamela.
again. And Happy
Thank
New Year. And remember,
Happy New Year.
it is a bit challenge of a time for people. So send some positive thoughts out to them and maybe some prayer when you see somebody who's having a difficult time.
Just smile. Smile. Hello.
Smile, exactly. It's a simple thing. A hello. And know that we are all learning from this whole experience. We're learning tremendously, and we're being taught new things. We're being shown new ways, and we're going to get through it. We're all going to get through it. So love to all of you, blessings, and take care, and thanks for being here. And I will be posting this. It'll be a couple hours before it gets posted on YouTube. I'll send you the link for it, Elaine. I will be posting it on my Facebook page too. For those of you who are not on my Facebook, it's Pamela Marie Edmunds on
I look
Facebook.
forward to
and
it.
I
I'll
will
put it on
post
my
there.
website.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for having
Elaine.
me.
Thank you.
Hugs to everybody, and you,
Bye.
Elaine, especially. God
Bye.
bless.
God
God
bless.
bless. Okay, meeting.